enough to make you go to the toilet. I've got to say, you know, it is revolting. That woman is just something else. So he's made his bed, poor H as she calls him. You know, what a silly boy he is, and he's going to learn the hard way.
Ghastly woman Meghan Markle, who apparently has come out and broken her silence, is what we're being told, on that viral clip of her twerking while she was in labour. And I feel sort of slightly traitorous even mentioning her name to you as you stand there near the royal enclosure.
A source close to the British royal family has just confirmed that Meghan Markle has been officially removed from all internal royal activities following the discovery that a key detail in one of her public statements was found to be untruthful. Meghan's unusual absence from a series of recent major events, including the Queen Elizabeth II Memorial Sussex Foundation, activities and occasions where Harry appeared alone, has sparked growing speculation among royal observers. No more joint statements, no more family photos, just a widening silence and Meghan's quiet disappearance from the royal family's public life. So what really happened? Was this simply a personal choice or the fallout from a behind-the-scenes revelation? And if Meghan is indeed being silently sanctioned by the monarchy, where did it all begin? Part 1: Signs that can no longer be ignored. Weeks after rumours began circulating that Meghan Markle had been removed from all internal royal activities, the first concrete signs began to surface, not through an official press release, but through a series of small yet consistent changes, ranging from event schedules to updates within the royal family's public data systems. For royal watchers, these changes required no formal confirmation, they were glaringly evident. The first and most obvious clue was Meghan's complete absence from the Queen Elizabeth II Memorial, held on June the 4th, 2025, at St. George's Chapel. What made this particularly striking was that just a week earlier, she had been spotted in London, reportedly for meetings related to a new media project. In other words, Meghan was in the UK available and presumably prepared, but did not attend one of the most symbolic royal family gatherings. According to leaked internal documents, her name had initially been included in the list of VIP guests sent to logistical and security teams, but was later crossed out and replaced with a terse annotation guest not cleared. Further confirmation came via official royal digital platforms. On the royal family's website, royal.uk, Meghan's once 800-word biography was reduced to just 3 lines: her former title, her wedding date to Prince Harry, and the names of their children. All links to her past charity work were removed. Gone too were references to her public speeches or her former involvement in the Royal Foundation, an initiative she once co-founded with William and Kate before stepping back. Simultaneously, the section on the Sussex Foundation was moved to the bottom of the page, no longer listed among the institutions supported by the royal family. Web analysts confirmed that the majority of links tied to Meghan's name were taken down in early June 2025, just days after an emergency meeting reportedly took place at Sandringham. Another major shift came from the Archewell Foundation, the non-profit launched by Meghan and Harry. For over 3 years, Archewell had maintained honorary partner status in bilateral relations with the royal family. This allowed it to use royal emblems in certain international media and outreach activities, even though it was no longer formally part of the monarchy. However, according to a financial contractor familiar with Archewell's accounts on June 3rd, 2025, Clarence House sent an official notice titled Revocation of Honorary Endorsement. The letter instructed Archewell to cease using any iconography associated with the royal crown or the Duke/Duchess of Sussex titles in its branding or official materials. Though not released publicly, the document was referenced in an internal review shared among UK-based charitable networks. One standout line read, "This entity is no longer considered affiliated, represented, or associated with the royal institution." Losing honorary representation status isn't just symbolic. It carries legal consequences for grant-making and fundraising in Europe. Potential funding partners in Sweden and the Netherlands have reportedly cancelled negotiations, citing unclear use of title regulations, according to Archewell's own internal reporting. This shows that the fallout isn't limited to media narratives. It is actively weakening Meghan's soft power and ability to attract financial backing. Any one of these developments might seem coincidental in isolation, but together unfolding within just a few weeks, they paint a deliberate picture. Meghan is being systematically disconnected from the remaining institutional ties to the British royal family. There has been no farewell press conference, no formal renunciation of titles, just a quiet, coordinated disappearance with no explanation offered. Interestingly, among pro-royal media circles, no one uses the word punishment. Instead, palace media advisors describe the move as a strategy to preserve.
If you're enjoying this story, kindly do us a favor and subscribe to our channel. It is free and won't cost anything, but it means the world to us. We're just a small channel trying to grow. Thank you, and back to the video.
Of the integrity of the crown. A former Clarence House press officer, speaking on condition of anonymity, explained, "No one wants a public war. But if misinformation has been used to attack the institution must defend itself." Looking back, over the 3 years since Meghan's explosive Oprah interview, she has gone from being a woman who stepped outside the system to live her truth, to a polarizing figure in an ongoing debate about where personal narrative ends and historical fact begins. These recent silent changes signal exactly where the royal family stands in that story now. And Meghan, it seems, is no longer in the frame. Part 2. The secret meeting and the lie exposed. On June 2, 2025, at the Sandringham estate, once the site of tense negotiations during the Megxit chapter of 2020, a high-level emergency meeting was convened. According to 3 independent sources within the British media, this was not a routine meeting, nor a ceremonial planning session, but a closed-door summit with a specific internal memo headline: Urgent Strategic Assessment on Media Alignment and Threats to Institutional Integrity. Present at the meeting were King Charles III, Prince William, Queen Camilla, the head of communications for Buckingham Palace, a representative from the Prime Minister's office, name undisclosed, and a specially invited team of independent legal advisors. Notably, Harry was not present. Meghan was not invited. According to a former royal official, that alone made clear the purpose of the meeting. It was no longer about negotiation, but damage control. At the heart of the discussion was an internal briefing note dating back to 2021 relating to Meghan and Harry's now infamous interview with Oprah Winfrey. In that interview, Meghan claimed that a member of the royal family had expressed concern about the skin color of her then unborn son, a claim that sent shockwaves around the world and severely damaged the monarchy's global image. However, a newly surfaced report compiled by the Royal Media Safety Unit RMSU, which reviewed archived meeting notes and internal records from 2019 to 2020, and no written record, email, or meeting minutes supporting the existence of such a remark made in any formal setting attended by Meghan. A critical line in the report, underlined in red, stated, "The Duchess has never raised the subject directly in any formal session or documentation." So what actually happened? Did Meghan fabricate the entire allegation, or was she recounting an offhand informal remark? The question became more complicated when a former palace aide who worked closely with Meghan during her early days in Windsor came forward. In a 28-minute episode of an independent podcast recorded in New York. The former staffer, introduced as a personal scheduling coordinator at Kensington Palace from 2019-2021, revealed that the conversation about skin color did not take place in any formal context. I was present at most meetings preparing for the birth of the Duchess's first child, she said. I know what was discussed, what was documented, and what was never mentioned. If such a racially charged conversation occurred, it didn't happen in front of any internal staff, and Meghan knows that. When the podcast host asked directly, "Do you believe Meghan exaggerated or fabricated that claim?" For media impact, the aide paused before responding, "I'm not saying she made it up, but I don't believe the story reflects the reality people think it does." The revelation quickly rippled through British political and media circles. The Times followed up with a fact-check request to the Royal Press Office and received a terse response. "We do not comment on internal documents as alleged to be leaked." Yet, at the same time, a spokesperson for Prince William reportedly refused to verify any specific claim from the 2021 interview, a notable shift from the palace's previous total silence. According to media experts, what provoked the royal family's reaction this time was not the accusation itself, but the implication, whether deliberate or not, that the offensive remark occurred within a formal, sanctioned, and senior royal context. That misunderstanding, fueled by a vague narrative, was enough to harm the institution's integrity. A leaked Sandringham document included an urgent note from the internal head of communications: any further strategic engagement involving the Duchess will be paused until external narrative is stabilized. The message was unambiguous. Meghan was being pulled from all long-term royal planning. No public declaration required, no title revoked, just a systemic disengagement. This exposure isn't a legal conviction, but it is a media verdict. Experts call it ceremonial discrediting, when a public figure loses the trust of the institution they once represented. In Meghan's case, it's a fracture that began years ago and is now split wide open. The turning point, when her name was erased from formal documentation, her appearance omitted from public event lists, and charitable organizations she once fronted lost their rights to bilateral endorsement. There's no formal accusation, but the convening of a royal emergency meeting at Sandringham, no less, with all senior power holders in attendance, and neither Meghan nor Harry invited, sent a clear message. The royal family doesn't need to speak. Their actions and the structure of their tightly controlled communication have said enough. Part 3. The royal family's response. If there's one thing the British royal family has mastered more than any modern institution, it's the ability to speak without speaking. For centuries, its most consequential decisions, whether the revocation of trust, the removal of official roles, or the quiet reshuffling of influence, have been delivered not through loud declarations, but through behavior and structural change. And in the case of Meghan Markle, this principle once again held firm. One of the earliest signs came from Prince William, now widely viewed as the monarchy's most powerful heir and a central architect of its media strategy. Since the emergency meeting on June 2nd at Sandringham Royal, correspondents have noticed a pattern. William's public schedule no longer overlaps with any event involving Meghan, even those attended by Harry. For example, during a charity engagement at Oxford University on June 5th, William appeared solo, while Harry attended a separate military panel the same day. The two brothers did not appear together, nor did the media speculate about a meeting. A source close to Kensington Palace explained as William doesn't need to say anything. Everyone knows what's happening. Ever since the 2021 scandal, he's drawn a firmer line. Now that line has become policy. William's silent but unmistakable distancing from Meghan has been dubbed by the press as a soft disavowal, a deliberate, non-confrontational way of signaling disapproval without igniting further public drama. Meanwhile, King Charles III, who has maintained some personal communication with his youngest son, is said to have severed all administrative contact with Meghan through subtle but significant actions. According to two internal correspondence officers, letters from Clarence House to the Archewell Foundation no longer use the titles the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. Instead, they are addressed simply to Mr. Harry Mountbatten Windsor. In royal and diplomatic circles, this seemingly minor change carries immense weight, signaling that Meghan is no longer recognized as an honorary figure within the royal administrative framework. Observers were further struck by another shift. Harry still attends virtual meetings with the King's office, but without Meghan at his side. From 2020 to 2023, Meghan often appeared next to Harry during these strategy calls, even when she held no formal role. But since May 2025, she has been completely absent. According to a Clarence House communications aide, that wasn't an oversight. It was by directive. Most telling of all, Meghan's name is missing from any working drafts of the Royal Transition Strategy 2025. The document outlining how the royal family will reshape its structure for the post-Charles era. An internal draft accessed by a reporter from The Observer clearly lists key representatives: William and Kate, Princess Anne, and the Duke and Duchess of Gloucester, with defined roles in diplomacy, public image, and charity work. Harry's name remains, albeit in a limited capacity. Meghan's absent. A former senior communications advisor from the King's press office put it bluntly, not being named in the long-term strategic plan, that's the final word. They didn't need to write a press release denying her role. They just wrote the plan without her. Importantly, none of this was impulsive or emotional. From a structural power perspective, this was a calculated move to protect institutional integrity and national prestige. Meghan's alleged misrepresentation of the conversation about race was not treated as a personal feud. It was viewed as a reputational threat on an international scale. That's why the response wasn't angry. It was coordinated and surgical. Still, dissent remains within the palace walls. Not all royals are completely aligned. One anonymous source admitted, some still believe Meghan is a casualty of one-sided media. But once the cross-referenced documents showed her account didn't match official meeting records, no one wanted to keep defending it. As international media began passing through the royal family's quiet but consistent moves, Buckingham Palace, in true form, issued no official comment. Instead, they let the changes speak subtle edits to the official website, her omission from ceremonial calendars, and the silent reversation of royal styles and titles in correspondence. No public statement, no explanation. But the message was unmistakable. A chapter had closed, and Meghan Markle, once hailed as the modern face of the monarchy, was no longer part of that picture. Part 4. Meghan faces the truth. Meghan Markle has remained silent. Since the unmistakable signs of her withdrawal from all royal-affiliated activities began to surface, there's been no public statement, no interview, no cryptic tweet. But if silence is a response, then everything happening around her speaks volumes. Throughout June 2025, Meghan appeared at 2 political fundraising events in California as a special guest. One at a private meeting with an education reform group in Santa Barbara, and the other at a gala hosted by Women for Civic Power in West Hollywood. On both occasions, she appeared alone without Harry, marking a departure from their previously unified image as a power couple brand. A former media advisor at the Archewell Foundation disclosed that Meghan is now rebuilding her personal communications team, fully separate from the rest of the organization. Internally, no one uses the Duke and Duchess styling in email signatures anymore. except a few outdated partners in the UK. The source also revealed that Meghan has started working with a US-based political branding agency, suggesting her focus is shifting toward platforms no longer reliant on royal affiliation. But perhaps the most revealing shift has occurred in publishing a space that once gave Meghan the most control over her narrative. Her upcoming memoir, Meghan the Memoir, originally slated for release in late 2025, has been put on indefinite hold by Penguin Publishing. Though the official explanation cited strategic adjustments, a publishing insider in New York revealed that the decision came after Penguin's legal team asked Meghan to provide verification for certain claims related to the royal family, and she was unable to fully comply. Among the questioned content was a passage describing a private conversation between Meghan and a senior royal about her postpartum mental health. According to internal notes from 2021, no medical staff or official communications aides were present during any such conversation. The inability to confirm the context of this exchange raised legal concerns about defamation and liability for the publisher. With the memoir on hold and her honorary royal status effectively erased, Meghan now appears to be leaning into political and civic spaces, but subtly not through formal campaigning. Instead, she is rebranding herself through socially driven activism. A media strategist at UCLA commented, "This is a typical pivot for a public figure losing one platform and testing another." Meghan knows the less she references the royal family, the easier it is to recast herself as an independent voice. However, there is one clear difference from years past. Meghan no longer controls her story effectively. The US media, once largely supportive, has begun to fracture. Some formerly sympathetic writers who once called her a feminist icon of the 21st century are now questioning the accuracy of her past statements. An anonymous editor at Vanity Fair admitted, "No one wants to be accused of amplifying unverifiable claims. We've been far more cautious in covering Meghan this year." This soft loss of narrative control is also reflected in public engagement. The official Archewell Instagram account lost over 180,000 followers within 3 weeks of the Queen's memorial event. Recent posts have seen drastically lower interaction rates, indicating a decline in neutral public interest. On X, formerly Twitter, former defenders have begun asking tough questions. Are we protecting a cause or just protecting a person strategically? Meghan's moves remain calculated and professional. She chooses silence, carefully appears only at events with aligned messaging, women's rights, education, mental health, and maintains a strict distance from anything royal family related. But that very distance underscores a truth she's never publicly acknowledged. Meghan no longer holds the symbolic power she once did. She once played the moral authority card in her battle against an archaic institution. But when the royal family responded with silence, not arguments or denials, the story began to lose its edge. A leading image consultant in San Francisco explained, "When you tell a shocking story, the public watches. But if the target of your story stays silent and you keep repeating the same version, the audience eventually gets tired." Detached, but no longer commanding, this is Meghan Markle's current place in international media. She is no longer clearly framed as a brave victim, but hasn't yet secured the gravitas of an independent activist. She now floats between two identities, in a transitional phase that, without a sharp turning point, risks prolonged irrelevance. And that for someone who once stood center stage on the world's platform, may be more crushing than public rejection itself. Part 5. Harry. Trapped in the middle, as the picture becomes increasingly clear that Meghan Markle is being edged out of royal-related activities, one figure remains quietly caught in the middle of all the mounting pressure: yet seldom addressed directly Prince Harry. No longer the centerpiece of explosive interviews or the public voice of joint projects, Harry appears to be navigating the most complex crisis of his post-royal life, this time alone. Following the closed-door meeting at Sandringham on June 17th and the Queen Elizabeth II Memorial on June 4th, Harry chose to stay in the UK for an additional week, deviating from his initial plan to return to the US immediately. During this time, he appeared at a few small-scale events primarily related to veterans' causes, a space he has remained deeply connected to since his military service. What drew the most attention, however, was Meghan's complete absence, despite prior expectations that the couple would attend the Veterans Honour Gala in London together, an event Meghan had previously helped fundraise for. A close friend of Harry's, who served with him in the army, told a defense magazine Harry came early, stayed late, didn't socialize much. He was polite, warm, but clearly not himself. You could see the weight on him. Meanwhile, the media continued to position Harry in a no-win spotlight. Son of King Charles' brother to Prince William and husband to Meghan, the woman now accused of misrepresenting sensitive royal discussions. While there is no evidence that Harry endorsed or supported Meghan's contested claims, his position means that every move he makes is closely scrutinized. And it seems Harry has reverted to an old tactic: silence and retreat. But this silence feels different. Sources from Clarence House confirm that Harry is still invited to attend regular virtual meetings with royal representatives, but only in an advisory observer capacity. He is no longer included in strategic sessions involving succession planning or public messaging. As one of King Charles's aides put it, the king hasn't turned his back on his son, but he knows he can't hold on to both, and Harry understands that. Harry's presence in the internal draft of the Royal Transition Strategy 2025 remains, but only minimally. His name appears in a subsection related to non-core international philanthropic engagements, a diplomatic way of saying he's free to work independently but without representing the royal family. Meghan's name does not appear at all. Many commentators are now asking, is Harry quietly distancing himself from Meghan? That question remains unanswered. But recent behavior points to a growing reality. Harry no longer appears as part of the media-savvy couple they once portrayed themselves to be. The latest posts from the Archewell Foundation mention Meghan, or the organization, only there are no photos of Harry, no quotes attributed to him. A small detail, but in media circles, such an omission signals a strategic repositioning. This gradual withdrawal from the spotlight may be a calculated move or a sign of resignation. A London-based communications expert observed, Harry seems trapped in an impossible dilemma. If he publicly supports Meghan, he risks severing the last of his royal ties. If he distances himself, he'll be accused of failing to protect his family. His only way out is silence, but the cost is a slow fading of his public identity. Still, some of Harry's friends in the UK suggest his extended stay after the memorial wasn't only about the events. In the days he stayed out of the public eye, he reportedly held private meetings with two former royal communications advisors who had worked under Queen Elizabeth II, trusted figures from his time as an active Duke of Sussex. The content of these meetings remains undisclosed, but the move is widely seen as a sign that Harry may be reassessing his role and possibly considering a future path independent of Meghan. At present, the royal family has made no statements about Harry's status. Meghan has not mentioned him in any of her recent appearances, and Harry himself remains silent. But perhaps that's something he's long been used to. For years, Harry has existed in the background, the spare in the line of succession, the younger brother. But now he risks becoming more than just the supporting character in the royal narrative. He may become collateral damage in a crisis sparked not by his own words, but by the person closest to him. No official statement, no televised title revocation. But for anyone following the series of unfolding events, one thing is clear. Meghan Markle has been systematically removed from the sphere of royal influence. From her absence at key ceremonies, the quiet deletion of her presence on official platforms, to the loss of her honorary role within charities, once supported by the monarchy, every sign points to one conclusion. The doors of Windsor are slowly closing. And the reason, as multiple sources have suggested, may come down to something deceptively simple, yet deeply serious: a lack of truthfulness in statements broadcast to the world. A source close to the British royal family has just confirmed that Meghan Markle has been officially removed from all internal royal activities, following the discovery that a key detail in one of her public statements was found to be untruthful. Meghan's unusual absence from a series of recent major events, including the Queen Elizabeth II Memorial Sussex Foundation activities and occasions where Harry appeared alone, has sparked growing speculation among royal observers. No more joint statements, no more family photos, just a widening silence, and Meghan's quiet disappearance from the royal family's public life. So what really happened? Was this simply a personal choice, or the fallout from a behind-the-scenes revelation? And if Meghan is indeed being silently sanctioned by the monarchy, where did it all begin? Meghan was once a symbol of a new era, breaking old rules, daring to question a guarded institution. But when those questions are no longer accompanied by transparency, the institution responds in its time-honored way, silently but decisively. The question now is this the end? Or is Meghan preparing for a new game altogether? A political one, where she may attempt to redefine her position outside royal boundaries. Either way, the price is already being paid, not through public condemnation, but through a quiet, calculated retreat from power. And that arguably is the steepest cost in a years-long battle over narrative and image. So, what do you think truly happened behind palace doors? Leave a comment below. Are you on Team Meghan or Team Royal Family? If you found this video thought-provoking, don't forget, like to support our team, subscribe to stay updated with our latest royal media and power dynamics analyses. Turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.